This morning I'm going to try some different shooting angles to shoot at the target, which is about 20 yards away. This time of year you should have your form dialed in, have your bow tuned, and pretty much feel good about your shot. So my primary objective today is to work on shooting from different positions, and I'm going to start with a slightly elevated position, and not only elevated, but where my torso is facing the target originally, and then you need to square up with the target with your shoulders parallel to the target to make a good shot, execute good form, and get back to full play. So that's the first shots for today. So in this position I'm initially facing the target straight on, but to shoot a vertical bow you got to turn your body to the side like this. And once you do that and you square yourself to the target, and you're ready to shoot. That was a perfect X. That was a perfect X at 20 yards. And I really took my time, and I went through my form process, and I executed a shot according to my process that I've developed over the past 6 months. I'll put a few more in there, and then I'll change my shooting position. So I've taken the weight that I had right here and I moved it down here, so that now the bow, when you balance it, you put your hand in where your grip hand would be. When you let go of the bow, it rolls forward nicely. That's the typical way to set up recurve bows, and probably compound bows, for target archers. Bow is extremely lightweight. I mean, it's absolutely nothing to carry. We'll see what it does. So today's lesson is to spend a little bit of time tuning your stabilizer system if you're going to use stabilizers. Keep it slightly bottom heavy, so that when you balance on with the grip here, the bow rolls nicely forward. So I'll show you my Barebow FITA rig to show you how it's a little different. So this is a bow that I would shoot for competition. I have shot for competition at the state level and done quite well. As long as the bow fits through, I think it's a 12.5 centimeter ring, you're good to go. And so the ring's got to pass through here. The widest point for me is actually this clicker in the arrow rest. So I'd have to check that to make sure that it works, but I think it does. Now this bow, when you balance it out, when you hold it on the grip and let it, you can see how it rolls actually fairly quickly down like that. That's actually what you want, as opposed to being top heavy. So this is my last group here at 20 yards. I'm now getting 3 good shots out of 4, and I'm shooting at a white-tailed deer. I'm shooting at the center of the lungs. 1, 2, 3. There's 3 that are solidly in the vital area, and 1 would have been high. Probably would have spined them at 20 yards. Probably would have killed the deer. So that's as good as I'm shooting today. For training purposes, I recommend working on your conscious awareness of your shooting shot, of your ability. I recommend shooting under different conditions, shooting at 3D shoots, shooting in front of people. You can try shooting in front of a camera. Just building up that consciousness awareness of your shot process in action. As far as the actual process of shooting, I think there's 3 extremely important parts, and I'll just mention them real quickly. If you get these, you should be good to go. Beginning with your parallel shoulders to the target, or actually maybe perpendicular. There's the draw, and then once you get back to your anchor, then I recommend that you pull into your best alignment possible, where the arrow is lined up the best it can with your elbow, and you've created that narrow wedge, and you're expanding with your back muscles. And at some point you actually do look at the arrow and place it where it needs to be, and then you forget about it. The execution should be a very deliberate thing, and it should be done exactly the same way every time. And it will probably involve doing 2 things at once, possibly even 3. What I do is I think about expanding my back muscles and getting the best alignment I can. And then I use a trigger mechanism to actually release the arrow and follow through. There's all kinds of things you can do to initiate the shot. Just to give you an example, some people draw the arrow back and they use the fletching itself when it touches their nose to execute the shot. Some people use grip shears, and grip shears is where you're moving a part of your finger on the grip, or on and off the grip, I think, kind of like this. And I haven't had success with it, but a lot of hunters do. Other psychological triggers are simply mantras in your mind. That also works. I use that when shooting my target rig. But then the other triggers you can use are moving parts of your hook, your string hand, and using that as a trigger to execute your shot. So for me, that's been the most successful. But again, it took 6 months of dedication to developing a new form and really giving it a good try. I think you'll be happy if you figure out a definite execution method that will absolutely trigger your shot. And the last thing I would like to mention is that I recommend that when you develop this trigger for the execution or the release of the arrow, I recommend that if you can, I highly encourage you to set up a system where you don't exactly 100% know when that trigger is going to be tripped. Because when the Olympic shooters shoot, they have a clicker that hangs down here. You can also get them for recurve bows that attach to the limb and to the string. They have an idea of when that trigger's or that clicker is going to go off, but they don't absolutely 100% know 100% for sure. That, my friend, is the key. You honestly don't really want to know exactly when this bow is going to go off. And that is the highest level of shooting, and it takes a lot of practice to set up a method that'll give you that. I do encourage you to work at it. I think you'll find that all the compound shooters at the top level and the recurve shooters have set up a system where they don't 100% know exactly when that trigger is going to go off and they're going to execute. Because by having a surprise shot, you eliminate a lot of possibility of flinching. A lot of it's eliminated because your body can't really brace for it because it doesn't know exactly when the bow is going to go off. And for all those people that say, well, I never flinch, maybe you're that 1%, because flinching is a real thing that happens to shooters, and it's simply your body bracing itself after this explosion. And in a recurve bow, you know, there's a lot of energy, the bow jumps forward, they're not loud, but it's your natural reaction is to kind of brace after the bow goes off. So if you design a system where you don't know exactly when the bow is going to go off, what you'll find your first few shots, you will be really surprised, and it'll be a completely different feeling. That is the most accurate way to shoot any bow, and I will also say any firearm too. So I recommend really giving it your best attention and looking at what these top shooters do to achieve success. I wish you all the luck this fall. May your arrows fly true. May that organic venison end up on your dinner plate.